Fingerings are very personal for violinists. In other words, what works for one violinist may not work for another violinist. So what I'm going to do is show you some of the fingerings and shifting that I did when I was playing the excerpt. But it would be great for you to take this to your teachers and ask him or her what they do or what would work for them, and then work with your teacher to decide what might work for you. There is going to be available for download a copy of the excerpt with my specific fingerings written in. But what I'd like to do now is just talk through the different measures and tell you where the shifts are and what position you're shifting from and to. And then later, I will play through it at a slow tempo so that you can see what my fingers are doing. So the first shift of the piece actually starts in measure 2. And for that, you're going to shift to second position on the 4th beat of the measure. And then in measure 3, you're going to shift from second to first position on the and of 2, and then to 4th position on the and of 3. In measure 4, you're going to shift to 5th position on the downbeat of the measure, then 6th position on the 3rd 8th note of the measure, and then you're going to slide your 4th finger back a half step to 5th position on the and of beat 3. In measure 5, you'll shift to 3rd position on the and of beat 3, and then back to 1st position on the and of beat 4. In measure 6, you're going to shift to 2nd position on the and of beat 4. In measure 7, you shift back to 1st position on beat 3. Then in measure 10, you will shift to 2nd position on the and of beat 2, and then 4th position on beat 4. In measure 11, you're going to stay in 4th position, crossing over onto the A string. On beat 3, slide your 3rd finger up a half step on the A string to shift from 4th position to 5th position, and then shift to 7th position on the E string on the and of beat 4. In measure 12, stay in 7th position, but your 2nd finger will have to move up a half step to make the distinction between the F natural on the 1st beat and the F sharp on the 3rd and 4th beats of the measure. In measure 13, shift back a half step with your 1st finger from 7th position to 6th position. In measure 14, shift from 6th position to 3rd position on the downbeat. Shift a half step up with your 1st finger from 3rd position to 4th position on the 4th beat of the measure. In measure 15, this is a good measure to mark your half steps because of the B sharp and the C double sharp. You will shift in this measure up a half step with your 2nd finger from C double sharp to D sharp, which moves you from 4th position to 5th position. In measure 16, shift from your 1st finger in 5th position to your 2nd finger in 7th position on the 3rd beat of the measure. In measure 17, shift back to 5th position on beat 4. And finally, in measure 18, shift from 5th position back to 4th position on the and of beat 1. Then from 4th position back to 3rd position on the and of beat 4, and you end the piece in 3rd position.